All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two of the Search Everywhere Optimization webinar series at Envisionit, this time focused on YouTube. And our title here, Lights, Camera, Rankings, the Importance of YouTube in Modern Search, as we will deep dive into why YouTube is so popular and prominent right now and how you can take advantage of this space. Just like last time, you have the team behind the insights here, and it is, of course, the one and only Director of SEO, Kenzie Austin, coupled here by myself, Lawson Robinson, Senior Manager of SEO at Envisionit. And you can see where we are in the timeline, so we're one step forward here. Next on the docket, we'll have Reddit, TikTok, and Instagram, and even taking a look at local search. And without any further ado, we'll dive right into it. So first, we're going to focus on a very important aspect of this entire deck, of this entire webinar, which is YouTube is popular. People love consuming and watching video content, and amongst all of the different video platforms out there, YouTube is number one. It is the most popular by a wide margin. Not only is it the most popular video platform, YouTube is also the second most visited website in the world and also the most popular social media platform, according to data from Pew Research and Hootsuite, which you can see on the left-hand side in that little bar chart here. And then you can kind of take a look and see it's not just amongst young people, it's amongst all age groups. YouTube is number one, standing tall over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, and even Pinterest. And surprising that it is so popular over TikTok. But again, it makes sense as people really like YouTube. It's become its own digital ecosystem, and customers are turning to YouTube to find new products, new experiences, or even get recommendations before they make a purchasing decision. Now, we'll do a little bit of a breakdown here on where YouTube is now appearing in search, because YouTube is not just popular amongst people and consumers, it is now popular across all of the different Google search experiences. So you can see on the left-hand side, their traditional search space where YouTube will appear. In the top right-hand side, you'll see Google's AI overview, sourcing a YouTube video. And in the bottom right-hand side, you'll see Google's short videos results, which is a new concept. So Google, understanding that people like short form videos, they like YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, and Instagram Reels. I believe it's called Facebook Reels. I could be wrong. Maybe it's Facebook Shorts. And even TikTok, they're now trying to kind of take all of these different video formats and put them in its search experience to create this new modern search landscape. And to double down on that, you can also see YouTube appearing within different AI platforms. So as people are searching for different types of prompts, whether it's looking for information when they're going to travel or even looking for products, YouTube is beginning to appear everywhere. You can see at the top Perplexity, on the bottom Google's AI mode, and on the right ChatGPT with a pretty long form breakout where it's giving a bunch of different video picks, with the real big takeaway here being AI search platforms, just like Google, want to serve a great experience to its users, to its consumers. So it's turning to video content, which people really love. Now we'll take a look at the bottom line. So in order to have success here, you need to think about YouTube as not just a siloed channel, but as a foundational driver of both organic search performance and AI-powered visibility. Now, how do you do that? You break it down into three different areas. So you think first about strengthening your organic reach. So you're going to create highly authoritative videos that rank well across new and old search touch points, providing great discoverability for your brand. You'll lock in on some branded signals that includes audience engagement. You can think about this almost as a one-to-one for engagement rate on your website, but really thinking about how do people interact with your video when it shows up, whether it's through likes, shares, and comments, and really making sure that these search and AI systems will view your brand as a trusted, authoritative source. And lastly, you'll win AI visibility. So again, all of these aforementioned AI platforms, AI overviews, ChatGPT, and Perplexity, they really want authentic human validated content, and YouTube has that in a video format. So as it looks to really scale out rich content and rich signals, it's going to turn to YouTube to give information to its consumers. And then lastly, before I throw the alley-oop to Kenzie to keep us going here, we want to kind of break down, how does the YouTube search ranking system work? It's not too dissimilar from what you would look at within most search algorithms. So you have it broken down into relevance, engagement, and quality, starting first with your relevance. So showing your video's relevance within the specific niche or industry that you're within, using the metadata, whether it's the information that you have within your video, maybe even your caption, etc., to really send strong signals to these algorithms to make sure that they understand, what is this content, what is this video all about. You also have engagement, so making sure that when your video appears, people are interacting with it and are taking time to engage with it. As I just kind of mentioned, that can come in the form of likes and comments, shares, things of that nature, but it can also come from watch time. The more that people watch your video for a longer period of time, they rewatch it, they maybe go to another video from your video, that's all going to be really positive for your YouTube channel within the algorithm. And last but not least, very important, thinking about that quality. This is definitely the more long-term play here, but I think the strongest out of all three, or the most important out of all three, and really lines up with the Google EAT qualifications and signals. So expertise, authoritativeness, experience, and trustworthiness. So really making sure that you have good content. I know that sounds very simple, but the better quality content that you have on your YouTube channel, the more likely people will engage with it, and the more relevant you will be to the algorithm. And with that, I will pass it along to the director of SEO, the one and only Kenzie Austin.
Thank you. Awesome. Great intro. And just as a quick reminder, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to shoot those in the chat, and we will respond back via email with any answers, and just to keep that conversation going. So now the next section is just really going to be digging into the strategies. How can you optimize your YouTube videos, your YouTube presence to be more visible, to get higher rankings, and really to boost that engagement, kind of going back to those core pieces of the algorithm that YouTube uses. So first, of course, we're going to be looking at video titles. So kind of similar to how we would approach page titles from a more traditional and foundational SEO lens. You know, the video title is one of the first elements that not only YouTube's algorithm, but also, of course, your users are going to really use to judge how relevant your video is to what they're looking for and to that search query. So in terms of a couple recommendations, first, you want to make sure that you're including your target keyword. And not only that, but you do want to make sure you're placing it towards the front of the title, as close to the front as possible, really leaning into that relevance right up front in the title. In terms of character count, we like to recommend anywhere around 60 characters. Again, it's very similar to how we would approach page titles, where longer titles are going to get cut off in the video search results, and that may impact click-through rates in a negative way. So you do want to keep them clean, keep them concise, and make sure that that relevant keyword is up front. Also, kind of building off of that, being very specific and not overly clever, overly branded. We want to make sure that our titles are descriptive, but they very clearly explain exactly what the video is going to provide to the user. We don't want to get overly vague or even try to be too witty, because you know, we're leaving that up to someone being able to understand a sense of humor that may not resonate for everyone. So just being direct, being concise. And then lastly, one of our final tips for video titles is making sure to really match that user search intent. So thinking about how you do keyword research from a foundational SEO perspective, let's bring those learnings and that strategy into video optimization as well. So putting yourself in the searcher's shoes, really doing some extensive keyword research to understand what is the user search intent, what is their primary keyword, what are some supporting keywords, and making sure that those are really emphasized in your video title. Next, we're going to be looking at descriptions. So you've optimized your video title. Now it's time to write the description for your new video. This is another key way to really help communicate your content to the algorithm that is really going to help improve your overall visibility and video ranking results. So first, similar to titles, we want to lead with our primary keyword. When you're writing your description, you want to make sure that you're putting your most important information within that first 2 to 3 sentences, making sure to really emphasize your primary keyword. Again, the goal here is just to make sure that you're matching what someone is searching, to the description. In terms of character count, we want to target around 200 to 300 words. This is important because we just want to make sure we're giving enough context. We really want to avoid just like thin one sentence descriptions. We really want to add some depth, add some context to it. It's more content that YouTube's algorithm is going to be able to crawl for you guys. Because we're not, as limited in terms of character count as we are for the title, the description is a really nice place to naturally bring in some secondary keywords or some semantic keywords as well. So really, you don't want to keyword stuff, of course, but you want to make sure that you are kind of mapping up some secondary keywords, maybe some follow-up questions that someone may be asking, and really including those in the description. Another really nice tactic that we love to recommend to our clients that we've seen help boost engagement of video is timestamps. So you guys will see that in the screenshot to the right. This is where you're able to actually kind of chunk out the different sections of your content by the timestamp. It's really there to help improve overall usability and user experience of your video content. It provides additional context. And of course, from a user experience perspective, it allows people to really jump to the specific sections of your video that they're most interested in. Of course, this is most applicable to like longer form content and longer form video. And then lastly, we want to make sure to kind of think about repeating your target keyword, your secondary keywords a few times naturally woven in throughout the description. Okay, so this is a fun one. We've been able to implement this for quite a few of our clients, and it's a very effective strategy when we think about building out more unique information in the description of each video. So this is really looking at adding a boilerplate kind of about your brand to every video description. So this would come below that unique video description that is unique to that specific video. And this would be boilerplate text that would appear on every single video description. The goal here is to really help build that brand entity recognition over time and making sure that YouTube is associating your channel with a specific niche that you are an expert in. So when you start, when you go about writing your boilerplate about for YouTube, you're going to want to start, of course, summarizing who you are, what your channel covers. Keep it concise, 3 to 5 sentences. Again, always including some target keywords more naturally, reinforcing that topical authority that you represent as your brand. Within your boilerplate about, it's also a really good space to link to key pages on your website. Some really strong cross-linking opportunity here. We like to recommend always linking, of course, to your homepage so people can really start digging into who you are as a brand and explore your website. And then also even considering some key landing pages. This is going to help also drive traffic and just really signal that overall credibility. In addition to linking to your website, you can also, of course, link to social. And this is a really great way to keep people engaged with your brand, cross-promote different content on different platforms, and make sure that you really help kind of boost that followership that you have. Lastly, I would say for this, making sure to keep it consistent. The nice thing about this is it's something that's really easy to scale because you kind of write it once and then you're able to use it across all your video descriptions. It really beefs up the description, makes it really nice and in-depth content, and it really helps educate your users and the audience about what your brand specializes in.
Totally agree. And in this right-hand side example, you can kind of see this boilerplate start around for 85 years, and then it kind of gets into the specific Jeep messaging. And I think that that's such a good way, as Kenzie said, to keep consistency, to really reinforce what is clearly going to be a branded effort from them from a marketing perspective, and then get people back to those social media accounts, establishing that digital ecosystem and reinforcing search everywhere optimization.
For sure. And like one thing I was thinking about too, when we think about that entity recognition and how important that is for AI visibility for a brand. And really what that is just making sure that like you've honed in on like, how are you describing your brand? And let's use that consistently across your website, your social profiles, your video descriptions, everything like that. So this boilerplate text is like another really good place to just build up that entity recognition, especially how, helping educate AI systems as well about your brand. Cool. So this next slide is digging a little bit into accessibility and boosting discoverability through the lens of captions. So YouTube does index caption files, which is super cool. And that's something that they use to really better understand your video's content. And this really makes captions a super powerful. And I think what we've seen is it is an often overlooked SEO signal when we're thinking about YouTube optimization, especially for how easy it is. So what we recommend for you guys is making sure that you're always enabling auto captions on every single video upload. YouTube does generate them automatically for you. You just really need to turn that feature on. So it's very simple, low-hanging fruit. Of course, you're going to want to kind of review and make sure that there's no errors. Sometimes we will see some inaccuracies, and that could potentially cause confusion for the algorithm or maybe even hurt the viewer experience. So as always, as with anything we do, quick QA, quick gut check of how things are looking is always going to be an important step in the process. Captions also help reinforce your keywords. So I think that's something that I wanted to touch on here. You know, we talked a lot about like the written text, but don't forget that when you are putting together, if you're using like a video script or just thinking about what you're going to say in your video before you upload it into YouTube, make sure that you're being really intentional about your voice and what you're saying and reiterating verbally those keywords. Kind of meeting that natural user search intent verbally is also going to be super important because those words then appear as captions that can be indexed. And then of course, one thing that, you know, again, can be often overlooked is just the accessibility of your content. Captions make your content easily accessible to individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. So we really want to make sure that we are creating content that is accessible for everyone and really help to expand your potential audience as well. All right, so a couple features I want to highlight here. Lawson mentioned at the beginning when we broke down YouTube's algorithm, one of the most important pieces of it in terms of video performance is engagement. So YouTube has introduced, and these have been around for quite a while, a couple features that are really meant to help boost that engagement with individual videos as well as just with your channel as a whole. So a couple of those that I just want to say as quick reminders to always enable. The first is chapters. So this allows you to break your video into those labeled sections so viewers can really jump into what they need. This is kind of like an added layer to what I was talking earlier about with the timestamps. So it's really just a way to help users engage with your content, especially on longer form video, and make sure that they can get directly to the section that they're most interested in. One thing that's also interesting is that YouTube can surface popular chapters directly in the search results. So they'll actually serve up a video and it'll jump right to that specific chapter of a video. So again, it's a really important feature to make sure you have enabled and intentionally set up. End screen. So we're all hopefully, and I'm sure, familiar with end screens on YouTube. These are the screens that appear within the final 5 to 20 seconds of your video, really with the goal to promote other videos, to promote other relevant playlists, or even just your channel as a whole. Of course, this is a really good strategy to keep your viewers within your content ecosystem, keep them engaged with your brand, and hopefully continue to boost that engagement time. Cards are another really interesting one. So this is a clickable pop-up that really can help direct viewers to other videos, other playlists, or your website at any point during the video. So cards and end screens are both pop-ups, but cards come in throughout the video, whereas end screens, of course, come in at the very end. But both of them have the same goal, which is to promote more content of yours, get people to click and engage and really watch some of your other content that you've put all of your time and effort into. And then lastly, thumbnails. So we all love a good thumbnail. This is something that is really going to have a direct impact on your click-through rate. There's a lot of stats. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know that a nice, well-optimized, clean thumbnail is going to increase that click-through. So making sure to put time into creating compelling custom thumbnails for each video you put out there. This is going to help with that click-through rate, like I mentioned, which is a key engagement signal that YouTube uses to help rank your content.
Yes, and Kenzie, as you said, you know, these things alone in a vacuum may not seem like the biggest needle movers, but when you bring them all together, you know, they sort of turn like Voltron into this big, important robot, right? They combine together and they're all essential. I mean, you think about your experience with YouTube out in the wild. If you see a good card, you might click through to that next video. A good thumbnail can make or break whether or not someone checks out your content. And to me, I always lean on chapters as such a big deal.
Yeah,
if
me
I'm
too.
looking something up, and the video is over 10 minutes, I'm going to look to that chapter to get exactly what I need from that video.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that those last set of recommendations probably feel quite tactical, but they are important, like Lawson said, and we've seen them overlooked a lot. So definitely want to just kind of give you guys those reminders. Video playlists is another really strong strategy when we're thinking about YouTube video optimization, especially aligning it around user search intent, which I'll talk about in a second. But I think one thing before I get into the details is just not only thinking of playlists as video organization, because that is, one of the benefits of it is it helps organize your content both internally but also externally for your users. But video playlists can actually rank independently in YouTube search. So it does, if you do these right and you do them well, it does give your content additional opportunities to be discovered through YouTube search. So in terms of some recommendations, to no one's surprise, we're going to talk about keywords. We're going to talk about, your titles. We want to make sure that you're naming your playlist intentionally, really treating the playlist title the same way you would a video title or a page title for your website. So targeting those keywords, making sure it's very clear, it's descriptive, and it's concise. Actually, one thing I was going to say too with playlists is that I often see them overly branded, which you can have a mix of like branded and non-branded, but I would say you really want it to be super obvious when someone clicks into your playlist section on YouTube, exactly what is going to be included in that content. So just making sure to really like put yourself in the user's shoes and name your playlist through that lens versus like overly campaign focused playlists. Description. So this is another place to make sure that you're writing thorough, in-depth video descriptions. YouTube, again, they do index playlist descriptions very similar to how they index individual video descriptions. So let's really make sure to use those to help reinforce your topical focus. Playlist is a good way to kind of, if you have core content pillars, those can help inform your playlist. So again, it helps reinforce overarching topical, different topics that you're really trying to reinforce for your brand to show up for. Grouping videos around a specific search intent. So not only looking through the lens of keyword research, but also putting yourself through user search intent research. So we want to make sure that we have really tightly themed playlists, again, signaling that topical authority to the algorithm. One thing that I see as well that's overlooked is being really intentional about how you're actually ordering your videos. So you are going to want to lead with your strongest video to really hook viewers and help maximize watch time across the playlist, and then kind of have some of the lower engagement videos following that. And then lastly, linking to playlists and video description. So I mentioned earlier, that boilerplate about text. So you could actually highlight some of your playlists in that space. You could use the end cards or the pop-ups mid-video to help promote and point users to other relevant playlists that they may be interested in as well. All right, pinned comments. So we really love recommending this to our clients, especially we work with a lot of destination marketing organizations, so travel and tourism vertical. And this is a really nice way to kind of, correlate. We have video engagement, but how do we get them into the funnel on our website? This is a really strong strategy for doing that. So of course, pinned comments is what appear at the top of your comment section. It really makes them one of the first things that viewers see when they engage with your video. So on the right, I have that example there. And in this case, they're actually promoting a tour and experiences link that goes to a booking website where someone is able to actually book some of the tours that are featured and discussed in that video content. So again, kind of pointing people into that conversion funnel through the video visibility that you're getting here. This is prime real estate, really to help guide users to most relevant pages and really reaching them at that exact moment where they're inspired to learn more. So this one's straightforward. Just start using it. Start pinning comments on your videos immediately after publishing. Again, being really thoughtful about what you are pinning. What is that next step you want the user to take? What page makes the most sense in their journey? And let's make sure to be highlighting and emphasizing that. Also, when you think of your messaging, being very clear with your CTA, using a very direct link, telling viewers exactly where you want them to go and why. And I think that's why we highlighted this example, because it's very obvious, best tours and experiences in Chicago with a link. So I'm intrigued. I'm going to click on that and see what my options are. Okay, awesome. So next slide here is just highlighting kind of more like the back-end technical aspects of some of the video optimization recommendations we have for you guys through the lens of file names and tags. So File name, pretty straightforward recommendation. Just make sure to write a unique file name for your video files before you upload them into YouTube. It's very similar to how we would approach, writing strong URLs or even optimizing image files on your website. Just making sure that it's clearly describing exactly what that video is. It's clean, it's concise, and it's optimized. When we think about tags, so this is something that we are going to really recommend in terms of boosting discoverability of content. What we recommend is adding around 5 to 8 relevant tags per video. You don't want to overload or overwhelm your user. You really want to focus on those primary keywords, a few variations of secondary keywords, and then maybe even sprinkling in some like broader topic tags, thinking about more of those like topical authority, that topical authority you want to achieve. Always leading with your most important tag, using a mix of specific and broad tags. I kind of mentioned that previously around the 5 to 8. And then lastly, I think tags is a really interesting place to do some competitive research and kind of look at how are competitors positioning their tags. You can actually use some tools. We have some recommended here, TubeBuddy and vidIQ. Those can actually help showcase what tags are top ranking in certain videos that your niche are using, and that can help kind of guide your strategy around tags on YouTube.
Yeah, and Kenzie, you've done a great job kind of calling out things that we see, right? Sort of aspects of optimization that are most overlooked. And I think this is tags, right, would probably be one of the top 3, because to me, they're so easy to create, they're so easy to implement, and they matter a lot. I mean, not only does it matter in terms of the algorithm seeing what your video is about, if you're a user and you find a video, and let's just say that the tag is Chicago food, for as example, if you click on that tag, it then takes you to a YouTube search page with all of the other videos that have that tag Chicago food. So it is really important to make sure you have that, because it could be something that gets you in front of a new user with a video that is, about the same topic, but from a completely different YouTube channel.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a really strong strategy for getting more qualified views and visitors into your video content as well, like you said. So don't forget your tags. And then this one is really all about, posting schedule, post consistency. We really, want to make sure that we're uploading on a regular cadence, but also what's feasible for your team, given, the resources that you have. Obviously, YouTube is a channel that requires a lot of time, resources, effort, things like that. So you want to make sure that you're doing something that's realistic for you and your team, but always focusing on consistency. You don't want to sacrifice quality over quantity, of course. One well-optimized video on a consistent schedule is going to outperform a flood of thin content. So similar to how you may approach it with like blog content as well. Always quality over quantity. And then, of course, straightforward, but use a content calendar. You may even need to create like a separate YouTube video content calendar, or you can have one comprehensive that's more of like a holistic content calendar. And then you break it out by different channels that you're publishing content on. But with anything, planning ahead really is going to help keep your cadence on track, and it's going to ensure that your videos are really optimized and aligned with search intent. And then lastly, in terms of the strategies, before I hand it back over to Lawson, is integration of your YouTube content on your website. So again, could be often an overlooked strategy is making sure you're putting all this time and energy into YouTube. Let's reap the benefits of it on your website as well. We know that adding videos to web pages can really boost engagement. So we've seen it boost engagement rates to over 40%, and even more impressively, increases conversion rates by up to 80%. So making sure to really integrate more video on relevant pages, whether it's your homepage, blogs, different key landing pages on your site, and making sure that you're really using the content that you're putting a lot of time into to help increase your on-site engagement on your website.
Totally agree. Now, I know that we're a little over here, so I won't spend too much time talking through, but wanted to highlight something that I think is very cool and is brand new, which is YouTube testing out a new search experience called YouTube Ask. So basically what YouTube is doing is taking the newly seen AI search experience where you type in a long form prompt or query. You get this sort of chat like experience. And so you then follow it through. I mean, this is a pretty big deal in my opinion. It shows not only that this AI search experience is, touching every single aspect and facet of Google, it's also really doubling down on Google's front and trying to make YouTube a legitimate search experience. Makes a lot of sense. Again, people love those videos. They really want to see what they can find within that space. But it's also a big deal because, again, YouTube could now kind of take off. It could be a search engine experience in and of itself. I have, as a nerd, signed up for this. I've used it. I've tested it out. It is pretty cool so far. You can tell that they're kind of working through things because I have gotten some instances where kind of lower quality or older videos get recommended to me instead of like a channel that I know is established within sort of the niche I'm searching for. But I think if they can stick this landing, this could be huge and especially significant for, I think, DMOs, right? Because this is going to now crack open the door on you need to have some kind of high quality content for your DMO commercially, but you also need to tag in some influencers to make you owned content so people can find your information like they are getting it from a local. So I think this is a pretty big deal. Wanted to kind of take a moment to highlight it. And you probably have seen this GIF loop back about 1 million times now, but you can kind of see what it's looking like on that left-hand side there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Of course. And as you can see, we do have some space for Q&A. So please email Kenzie at kenzie.austin@envisionitagency.com with all of your pressing questions and concerns. Anything you want to know, we can do our best to answer that. And then also go ahead and use this QR code. Get yourself a free SEO and AI visibility growth assessment. Understand where your brand is at, where there's opportunity, where there are gaps and strengths, all of those fun things. We're happy to help you out. And lastly, thank you. Thank you for attending. We appreciate your time, and we're definitely going to look forward to the next time we get together to talk about Reddit.
Yes, very excited for that one. Next Tuesday, same time, 1 p.m. Central, we'll be digging into Reddit. So definitely stay tuned for more. And thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day.